If you enjoy garlic bread, you'll love these spiral buns infused with garlic butter and cheese for less than 300 calories. Pizza dough and a few other ingredients are all that's required to make our garlic and cheese spiral buns. A cheese grater, large knife, and rolling pin are helpful. A large parchment-lined baking tray is essential. I'll set these ingredients aside and start with the garlic butter preparation. Using the flat side of my knife and a fist, I'm smashing the garlic to remove the skin. Sometimes a second smashing is required. See how easily the skin pulls away? Both garlic cloves are chopped as finely as possible to a minced consistency. The finer the mince, the better the garlic will infuse the butter with a rich garlic flavor. The finely minced garlic joins the 3 tablespoons of butter, mixed evenly and blended to a fluffy and whipped consistency. Setting the whipped garlic butter aside and making space to prepare the pizza dough. I'm sprinkling the counter surface with a very small amount of flour, only as little as necessary to prevent the dough from sticking. Too much flour and the dough's elasticity could change, making it less pliable and difficult to shape. This pizza dough was purchased from my local grocery store in the refrigerated section. The dough has been sitting on my counter for a few hours to warm up to room temperature. This increases the dough's elasticity and makes it easier to work with. See the stretch as gravity releases the dough from the bag? The counter surface is required to shape the pizza dough and stretch the dough into the correct dimensions to make the spiral buns. I'm sprinkling the dough and my hands with just a little flour, then kneading and rolling the dough to release any large air bubbles created by the dough's yeast. The dough feels springy and ready to shape. Before I begin shaping the dough, I'll warm the oven. I'm setting my oven to the lowest temperature to create a warm space for the dough to rise once it's shaped into buns. I'm starting with the dough as I would if I were making a pizza crust, turning the dough and allowing the dough to stretch out. See how the dough slowly stretches towards the counter? I'm turning the dough so it will stretch and thin out as evenly as possible. This is a skill that improves with practice. We'll have to see how this turns out. I'm shaping the dough into a rectangle shape 24 inches by 8 inches or approximately 61 centimeters by 20 centimeters. I see a few parts of the dough that is thinned out a little too much. Dough evenly stretched out is ideal. Stretching creates more elasticity and a spongier dough that bakes nicely into an airier spiral bun. I'm rolling the dough with a rolling pin to see if this will help shape the dough. The rolling pin must be used sparingly or the dough will be more dense when baked. Now that the dough has been stretched almost to a 24-inch or 61 centimeter length, it's time to add the garlic butter. I have 3 tablespoons of butter mixed with the minced garlic. I'll only spread what I need to cover the surface of the dough. Using less garlic butter reduces the fat and calories, and the spiral buns remain just as delicious. The cheddar cheese is next. 3½ ounces equivalent to 100 grams. The cheese is shredded evenly over the surface. Next, I'll roll the dough from one long side across to the other long side. See the part of the dough that was stretched too thinly? It's broken open. If you have a pastry blade like this one, you can scrape the dough from the counter like this, or gently and gradually push the dough from the bottom edge to roll it. Even though the dough has broken open, the spiral buns will still turn out perfectly once baked. Now that the dough is rolled and has rested for a few minutes, it can be stretched a little more to the full 24 inches or 61 centimeter length. This is important because I'll be cutting the rolled dough into 24 1-inch or 2½ centimeter rounds. But first, I'll fold the rolled dough in half so I can continue to cut the dough on my wooden cutting board. Each half of rolled dough is cut crosswise into 12 equal pieces. Then, transferred to the parchment paper lined baking sheet in rows of 4 by 6. The second half of the rolled dough is cut into 12 pieces as well and added to the baking tray for a total of 24 pieces. You'll note that some of the pieces are larger than others. With practice, the dough will be more evenly prepared. The smaller buns will be lower in calories than the larger buns. Now that all 24 pieces of dough are evenly spaced on the baking tray, it's time to cover them with a clean cloth and proof them in the warmed oven. I'm turning the heat off before placing the tray in the oven. The covered tray will remain in the oven until the dough doubles in size. The cloth traps heat and moisture necessary for the dough to balloon, becoming spongy and airy before baking. This will take about 1 hour. It's been over 1 hour since the prepared dough was left in a warm oven to proof. Let's see how this dough has turned out. Lovely. See how the dough has risen? Spongy, airy, and supple. It's time to bake them. I'm removing the tray from the oven to preheat to 375 degrees Fahrenheit or 190 degrees centigrade. Let's remove the cloth and take a peek at these pieces of garlic and cheese spiral dough. The oven has preheated to the correct temperature. These spiral buns will bake for 20 minutes. "20 minutes have passed. Let's see how these buns have turned out. These garlic and cheese spiral buns are golden and baked to perfection. Just look at these buns, hot and fresh out of the oven and ready to serve. And this one's for you. Enjoy. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and click the notifications bell to get all the latest under 300 calories recipes.